everyone, and welcome back to a very, very special baseball talk radio show. We have Rich Baxter.
Hello, Gary.
Hi there, Rich. Rich, I'm excited about today's show.
Me too. And we have the best barbecue folks in town, baseball and barbecue.
That's right. We've got Jeff Cohen and Len Aberman with us. Hello, guys.
Hey,
hello there.
Look at this. It's a special crossover edition.
How you guys doing?
Not
We
bad.
are good. And it's great to have you guys on with us. And for those of you that listen to Mets Musings, you know these two characters because they've been on numerous times in the roundtables we've done. And this is the first time we're doing a crossover type show.
You're crossing over
with the baseball and barbecue guys. And Rich, it's going to be an interesting evening, don't you think?
Yes, it is. And before we start, I have to share a video here because if I think barbecue, I think this as well. And look at that barbecuer there on the screen. There he goes. He's drinking.
That's Jeff.
Yeah,
Jeff.
right.
He's got a little Corona there. I don't know if I like Corona anymore after what we've been through, but all right, that starts.
All right.
There you
Thank
go.
you, Rich. Wait, I gotta hold on. All right. Now I know I could do a Gary Mack, but Rich Baxter. Okay, that works.
Nice.
And of course, Gary Mack.
Yeah.
All right, Jeff, I'm feeling better now.
Meanwhile, if he had an audio guy, he'd be going to a doctor for his eardrums being
Exactly.
busted.
Jeff, I told you, you're too silly. You really are. Out of control.
Well, baseball. We're going to talk about baseball, of course, and a little barbecue and the state of the game. I'm still waiting to see the rib video that you guys put out. I mean, I got the whole smoker, putting the baskets and the funnel thing and the pellets or whatever, everything together, but no cooking and no food.
Once the check clears,
we got to work on that. We got to work on that.
Right.
So I've got to ask you guys. Wait, I'm gonna jump in here. I got to ask you, Gary and Rich. Okay, you guys have tell me if this is true, but you guys have never actually met in person.
That is true.
Mm-hmm.
I get
Okay. All right. So what? I'm sorry.
I feel like I've been around Gary for years.
Yeah.
So now, inquiring minds want to know, how did you guys end up a Philly fan, a Met fan? How did you guys end up doing the Talk Baseball radio show?
Well, here's what I remember, and Rich can correct me if he thinks it's something different, but I think he contacted me about to get Mets. Baseball Talk Radio started as a network. It's really a network. And Rich started it and had all these shows, and he contacted me to ask me if he could put Mets Musings on it. And I think we just went from there. And then I had him on Mets Musings when the Mets were playing the Phillies. And we just went back and forth. And then, I don't know, he said when, I don't know if Rich suggested it or I think Rich suggested it, that we do a show together. Is that how you remember it, Rich?
That's the way I remember it.
Yeah.
I believe you were doing the minor league podcast as well at the time.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to overwhelm you, but I said, would you like to do a third show just talking about baseball? And now we've been doing one, but about 7 years, maybe.
Yeah, something like that. It's a long time. Yeah.
Wow. One day, maybe actually if you meet, it might ruin your show because your show is great. So maybe you should never meet.
And everybody should just check out the baseballtalkradio.com with a list of great shows on there. I mean,
I think we're on there, Jeff.
We are, and a couple dozen on there. So it looks really great. So if you're into baseball, want to listen to some great baseball talk from around the league, check out baseballtalkradio.com.
Yeah.
Very nice. Thanks, guys.
And
all right, so go ahead, Gary.
All right, so let's talk about baseball a little bit. We've got the game is coming back together as we know it somewhat. I'm not talking about rule changes, all of that kind of nonsense, but I mean it's starting to grow on people again. The
Like
stadiums
fungus.
have been opened up, so we're starting to get fans back in the game. And I got to tell you, for me, it really makes a big difference watching a game. It really brings that excitement back into the sport. And it's not just baseball. It's all, if you've watched any of the NHL playoffs, you see how much excitement is there. The golf, even a golf tournament, the people are packing them, and there's a lot more excitement for the golf tournament, and the players love it. And the players love it across the board. We'll see. We don't know about football yet. I don't know how basketball's faring, but as far as baseball goes, it looks like baseball is on the right track, despite the commissioner. Who, Rich and I have discussed many times about our dislike for a lot of the rules and what the commission is doing to the game, but overall, what do you think of the state of the game? And I'll start with Rich.
Well, I wish there wasn't as many changes being proposed to the game. I'm not one to think that the game needs the changes. I like the length of baseball games, the unpredictability of it. You could be there for under 2 hours. You could be there for over 4 hours. That's always the way baseball has been. So I guess I want to call myself a traditionalist. And with the state that the baseball world has been in with Rob Manfred as commissioner, I just can't stand behind it. I mean, I'm constantly reading the news, getting updated on different changes that want to be made. And it's not only him that's proposing it, it's other people as well. But I guess I'm a baseball traditionalist.
Yeah, and people actually like some of these rules. Jeff, I hear a lot of people like the extra inning rule, and to me, it's a stupid rule. What say you?
I think the people inside the game like the rule. The writers like the rule because they get their deadlines in earlier. The managers like the rule; they don't have to use their pitchers. The owners like the rule because they're not selling beer after the seventh inning anyway, so they want to get out of there. The only people who don't like the rule is the fans. Most fans, I would say. I think everybody in the game loves it, but I really hate the idea of a phantom runner. It's not really baseball. And I want to say something about what Rich mentioned. I went to a ball game a couple weeks ago and it happened to be a doubleheader. 2 7-inning games, which I don't like 7-inning games. And I want to ask Rich because he's a Philly fan. The Mets have to play 10. They got rained out, either snowed out or COVID out of 10 games. That means they got to make up. That means they're going to have 10 doubleheaders. That means 20 games of 7 innings. So 20 games, you're lopping off 2 innings. That's 40 innings. That's over 4 full-length baseball games. How, the Mets now essentially playing 4 games less than, say, the Phillies. How do you feel about that? I don't think that's very fair at all. Now, I think as a Met fan, and I know you're outnumbered here, 3-1 for Met fans, but and it's good for the Met fans because of our pitching, but really, it's not great for competitive balance.
Yeah, and the starting of the runner at second base for extra innings, I'm not for that. As you said, it's artificial. It's something that's never took place before. It adds a new wild card to everything, and it detracts from the game, in my opinion.
Well, I'm going to jump in here. I'm going to jump in now and give my opinion. But before I do that, I have to say, because Jeff and I in one of our episodes, we went to Philadelphia, Citizens Bank Park. We were guests of the Phillies, actually guests of the food service there. And we interviewed Greg Luzinski. And I said that day, because he runs a place called Bull's Barbecue, and I said that day that I'm an honorary Phillies fan. So today, Rich, you are not outnumbered. You and I are both Phillies fans today. Okay. So there you go. That's one.
Great.
Have the
Trader.
turkey leg when you were there talking a little.
Oh, that was good. That was good. Yes. And the brisket was good. Yes. And they kept bringing us, they brought us like 3 plates of food. And then Jeff's like, we have to eat all this. It was a lot. But
nice invite there.
Rich, when you say you're a traditionalist, all I could think is tradition. Sing with me, tradition.
Tradition.
There you go. But I agree with you with a lot of what they're doing with the game. I don't understand it. There are some things that are crazier than others, especially putting a runner on second base. You know, it's funny as a kid, you know, and they want to make kids interested in the game. As a kid, one of my favorite things was when a game went into extra innings, because it meant I got to see more and I got to be there longer. And so it's just funny that they want to shorten the game with the runner on second. But I have to say that whether it's Manfred or whoever's making these changes, they better look at what they're doing, because it's too much. They are really distorting the game.
Well, you know, they did it in the minor leagues the last couple of years. I think it started in 2019, and I mean, I hated it there, and yet the polls that they took with the fans loved it. And I don't. You hear a lot of fans saying, "I want to get out of it. I don't want to, you know, spend my whole night there." Well, what are you going to a ball game for then?
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah, but Gary, hold on. Gary, those same
Yeah.
fans in the minor leagues, they also like having sausages run the bases and, you know, things. So, you know, come on. we gotta see where these surveys are coming from.
Excuse me, what's wrong with sausages running the bases?
I prefer it to have ribs running the base paths. Okay, if we're you know.
I happen to enjoy that. I think that's one of the great parts of minor league baseball is the sausages, or
Okay,
in
right.
Brooklyn, the hot dogs and the ketchup and the mustard are running, and relish are running the bases, and it's interesting that that's part of the appeal of minor league baseball, and it just seems that Manfred wants to kill a lot of that stuff by you know, bringing everything under the umbrella of Major League Baseball. I hear he's even trying to acquire Little League, the organization, to bring them under the umbrella of Major League Baseball, so that it owns, I guess, every professional or every baseball league out there that makes
That's
money.
not a joke. That's not a joke. That's real.
I read that somewhere. I don't know how true it is. I could be wrong, but I had read that he was even trying to acquire that.
Does he do a ha 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 after? Because that's
Yeah.
evil.
No, I think it's more of a Mr. Burns thing, you know.
That's good. Okay. Oh,
But so let's talk about some of the rules. We've talked about the man on second. We've had the designated hitter rule coming up in the National League. I think we all, well, Len, I'm not too sure about, but we all seem to hate it. But we have a CBA coming up at the end of this season. So what's your feelings on all of these potential rule changes? Other rule, if you remember, if you know, I'm missing some, I'm sure that they're discussing. If you remember, please bring it up. But what's your opinion on that? Len, we'll start with you.
Okay. I don't the opinion on all these rules, but you know what rule they should have is that if you could play 2 ways, you should do it. Because Shohei Ohtani is a great 2-way player. I know we're talking rules, but I'm sick of rules. I'm sick You know what rule they need to change? That the runner needs to touch first base when he hits a home run. That's what That's what needs to be changed. Okay, Jeff. Okay. All right. I'm sorry. Skip me. Go to someone else. I failed my turn.
Jeff.
Well, unfortunately, these rules changed. I feel it's going to stay. They're going to have the 7-inning doubleheaders. And here's another thing about that. While I'm on that subject, the Marlins, the Diamondbacks, the Mariners, the Brewers, Toronto, when the Blue Jays, when they get back to Toronto, they're never going to play doubleheaders at home. It will never happen. Why would they? They're never going to get rained out. So
Right.
another unfair advantage. So that's something that but it's going to stay. It's going to stay. The only rule I actually like is the relief pitcher throwing the 3 batters. I mean, if you're a major league pitcher, you got to be able to pitch to 3 batters. I know the lefty specialist and all that, but that's the one rule I can live with. But the DH is coming. The DH is coming to the National League. We know it. I understand it. The way, you know what? It's a fait accompli. The pitcher's only going to go 7 innings, 6-7 innings at it, and the late inning strategy is taken out. So you might as well have the DH. I think we saw one game this year that the strategy really worked. The mind games between managers, but it's really legislated out. So the DH is coming, and I know that's terrible because DeGrom he has more runs batted in than earned runs, and we're not going to see that anymore.
Well, the Mets might be in 3rd place without DeGrom hitting. So, he's hitting like what, 457?
Yeah.
Rich, what's your thoughts on all of this?
Well, I can live with the slide rule at home and at second base. I can live with those 2 things because really at second base, it was getting kind of ridiculous there. The guy would go 6-7 feet out of his way to try to mow down the shortstop or the second baseman. But what I'm looking forward to, believe it or not, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm looking forward to the robo umpire with the balls and strikes calls because I think it's coming. I think it's probably 2 years out, but I think it's on the way, and I can't wait for something like that because I kind of like that technology, meets the baseball world in that respect because it's going to really tighten up games, I think.
Careful what you wish for.
Well, here's the thing. There was the Mets lost the game on a ball down the foul line, and the Mets said it was foul. I forget who they were playing now, but the other team said it was fair. One view it looked like there was chalk kicking up. The other view you see no chalk. My question was, why can't they have a camera in the foul pole facing down? If they want to use technology, then let's use technology. Put a 4K camera. They can certainly afford it, pointing right down the foul pole, and they can make accurate calls then.
Yeah, football has a pylon, has a camera in the pylon. It can be done. You're right.
It's a great idea. Great idea.
It can be done. And the other thing is that they're going to do it to robo umps. How are they going to do this? I mean, my idea then is, why don't you have to put sensors in home plate, put sensors in the uniforms at the, I mean, I don't know how you would do that or slap something on when a guy comes to the bat. I don't know. I don't know. The other thing is, why not put a sensor in the bases then, so you can tell if it's safe. If a guy hits the bag before the ball gets in the first baseman's glove, you have a light go up, or the base lights up, or something or other. I mean, if you're gonna go all the way with technology, then why don't we do these things as well?
Yeah. I mean, what happened to the traditionalist? What, Rich? If you're a traditionalist, now we're going to put all this technology in?
Well, I think it's It's one of those things where as time goes on, technology has crept into the game a little bit. And I'm not talking about rule changes, but how many times have we seen umpires come into a game and have so much influence on a game with the balls and strikes that they call? They're almost controlling the game in a respect. And they had for years different umpires call different strikes, different balls, almost like they had a bet on the game. Now you can bet on a game. How about that for the traditionalists? You can go down the street and place a bet.
There's odds on the game, which is ridiculous. And you know there's going to be a betting scandal one of these days.
I have the Phillies tonight +1. So just in honor of Rich. But Rich, if they don't win, I'm going to need help with the money. Just telling you.
Sports betting, especially baseball, very difficult. I wouldn't recommend it.
No, definitely not. And I read something.
That's our public service announcement.
It's not easy, folks.
I read something in the golf in an article that someone bets on golf and there's a fan. They can they can say something, yell something to one of the golfers that bet against, and ruin his shot. So it's betting on sports is not a smart thing to do.
And a case in point, the Phillies had a press conference the other day. One of the Philadelphia press people questioned Joe Girardi and said, "Are you going to give us the straight answer on if a player's injured or not?" There's bets being made on the game. So his angle was, hey, you have bettors out there, but you're not supplying the correct information if Bryce Harper's going to play or not, or giving us a word about it. So yeah, little things like that are creeping its way into this game. Yeah, is it part of the new traditionalist? I don't know, but certain things we have to deal with.
Tradition has a part. Tradition has a part in the game. I mean, it's a great game. It's always been a great game. Yes, technology has come in, and and it has its place. I mean, you just can't say you're a traditionalist and everything before 1950 is the only thing. It evolves. The game evolves, but there's a point where it's too much. I mean, it's really the instant replay. You're looking for the minuscule. He came off the base this much just to pop up, and they're calling him out. Is that what it really meant for? No. When was the last time you saw a good breakup of a double play? I don't remember one. I don't remember one in years breaking up a double play. Doesn't happen anymore.
They don't run them out anymore. They stop halfway down the base path.
Right. They don't run them out anymore.
And turn towards the outfield. When's the last time you saw a good sacrifice bunt? Not an attempt at a sacrifice bunt, a good sacrifice bunt. We're losing all these aspects of the game that they should try bringing back. Bunting, hit and run, stealing a base. Though I have noticed the Mets are trying to do a little bit of that. But my question is, are they doing it now because of the injuries and they've been so strapped that they're trying to make things happen? Or are they doing it because they want to do it? I'm thinking they're doing it because they've been so strapped by injuries that they're just trying to make things happen. And my fear is that when the players start coming back, the regulars, that they're going to abandon this. But we'll see with that. But a lot of teams are just not doing these things anymore. Fundamentals. And you see it throughout the league. We all watch a lot of the games. I was watching, who was it? Was it the Phillies and the Dodgers or Seattle? But they were throwing the ball around the infield like little leaguers. Yeah. And and I said,
soon Little League they'll be under Major League Baseball, so that'll be okay.
But it's just I don't know. I don't mind the technology, but you know what? Everybody still is on the back of the Houston Astros for what they did, and yeah, they cheated, but now all of a sudden 2 years later we find out, oh, wait a second, the pitchers are using sticky substance all the time. So does it make the Astros any less cheaters? To me it does. They're just doing the opposite of what the pitchers were doing to try to stay even with them. And the other hand is baseball invited all of that by allowing all this video in the dugout, the iPads and the tablets in the dugout, or the video rooms in the clubhouse. That should all be shut down during the game. If you don't want them to check out the video, then shut it down. They can videotape the game, watch it back after the game. But I think, a guy has a time at bat, and then he goes down into the dugout to see if he made out what he was doing wrong. I don't think that's right. That takes him out of the game. Your ass should be on the bench watching that game, rooting on your teammates. Never mind wondering what you did. Figure it out after the game. What? Any thoughts on that at all? On
Rich, what do you
video?
think?
Uh, Video is creeping its way into all the sports. I don't think you can prevent it anymore, especially the NFL. You constantly seeing the quarterback being handed a tablet in the dugouts now. You got people looking at video. I'm not really against that. I don't really see it when I'm watching TV. So it really doesn't bother me, but I see where you're coming from with it, Gary.
Let me ask you guys this, Rich. I'll go to you first. I saw a game where it was Fernando Tatis Jr. And don't get me wrong, great player. He's going to be a fantastic player for a long time. Hits a home run, but he has a signature, trademark, whatever, dance when he goes around third base. He stops, does a stutter step, and goes around the base. And it's, he did this when it was a game they were losing. I'm going, check the scoreboard, man. What are you doing? And he has to have his trademark move. What do you think about that, Rich?
Yeah, I really haven't been exposed to it too much because I don't watch too many of those games from the Padres and all. But it's part of its youth creeping into the game, so to speak. I really don't have an issue with it because it's something that they're having fun with, and it's showing that it's still a human game for the most part. The other team's going to have a problem with it. I mean, if you see a guy, especially somebody crept off the mound, I think he's a Mets pitcher actually, and he has dance off the mound when he retires the sides or anything. And I think you guys know what I'm talking about. I don't care for that. If I'm on the other team, I'm like, I can't wait to get a bat in my hands.
The one thing I will say about that, there's a difference between being organic or being choreographed. And I think what Tatis does is choreographed. Obviously it is.
Right. The Mets had someone on their team too who used to choreograph all these home run.
Well, they do a lot of high fives and all that, but this is
like right Jose Reyes, right?
Well, yeah.
But remember at the plate, they had some dance that they would do. I mean, it was ridiculous, but
yes,
that's the wave of the future. If just like technology is creeping into the game. If if a guy hits a home run in a game, right? Tatis hits a home run when they're losing. He's celebrating at that moment. He's excited he hit a home run. Yes, it's not, it didn't help them. They're not winning or whatever, but I don't know. It's all these unwritten rules too, that you can't celebrate or that you can't, put in a bunt in a no-hitter. All these, get rid of those too.
I want to bring up something here, and I'm going to direct this to Gary because he brought it up with the sticky substances with the pitchers using. Is it a coincidence that Manfred now brings that up right in a year when at the end of the year there's going to be a CBA coming up? Is this kind of strategy? Is that what do you think about that?
It's possible. Pete Alonso's got the theory that they keep manipulating the ball around depending upon the free agent class. In other words, the year when there was a lot of pitches coming up for free agency, they juiced the ball. So the ERAs were high, and they were hoping that I guess the whole theory is to keep the salaries down. Next year is going to be a bunch of shortstops, so it's more of an offensive-minded free agent class. and the ball has been deadened supposedly this year. Um, I don't know. I think they I think they've been playing games with the baseball, and now they've got to come up with something. So now he's going to go after the pitchers because there's no offense. So the pitchers must be so good. So let's bring this tacky thing in there that they've allowed in the past. Apparently they've allowed it because they knew guys were doing it and guys are admitting it. Tyler Glasnow said he was using some stuff to get a grip on the ball. And somebody said the other night that the balls was slick as could be, which makes me think, did they even rub them in the mud? The umpire is supposed to rub them in that mud, which is supposed to take the shine off the leather and everything. And who knows what he's doing? It's the monkeying around with the game is what's going to sink the game. It's never the crime. It's always the cover up. And that's what it looks like they're doing. They do something and then he's trying to cover it up. And it's gonna take away. People aren't gonna believe anything anymore. And it's not good for the game. But I as far as the Tatis thing, I hate it. I can't stand that stuff. I know, the celebrations. I always cringed a little when the Mets would celebrate at home plate or would in the dugout would they do the car wash and all of that nonsense that they used to do. But at least that was in the dugout. But still, it's not, especially if you're losing. I'll never forget. And I've told this story a million times. I might as well tell it one more time. I'm watching an NBA game, and the one team is losing by, I think, 30 points. And the guy on the losing team, he drives down. He's the guard, and I don't know, he was 6'5", whatever, and he drives on the 7-foot center and dunks on him. And then he's running all over the court, pounding his chest, like, oh, and he's chest bumping his players like he just won the championship with that basket. And the announcer even said, what the heck is he doing? He's still losing by 28 points. You didn't tie up the game. You didn't even come close. It's what, and that's what turned me off the basketball. I stopped watching it because all of this stupid, idiotic celebrating when you're losing a game. And I remember Ralph Kiner one time said with the Mets, they the guy hit a sacrifice fly, I think. And he came in, everybody was high-fiving him and everything like this. And he goes, I don't understand that. Why are they, celebrating him doing his job? He's supposed to get that run in, or it might have been a sacrifice bunt. I forget whatever it was. But he
Hold
said
on, Gary.
he's doing his
Gary,
job.
Gary,
I know.
Gary. Does anybody hear me? All
yes.
Right. I got to interrupt you. We've got a very, very serious topic that we need to discuss. Other than your unhappiness. Okay? All right. This is important. All right. I go to the baseball game. You go to the game. What is your favorite food and where's your favorite stadium? Let's talk stadium food.
Well, who, me?
Let's go to Rich.
Well,
Rich.
Yeah, ask Rich.
Stadium food. I would have to go with the cheesesteak because I'm a Philadelphia fan and been there a few times. So, yeah, I would have to just throw in the nice cheesesteak, maybe even a chicken cheesesteak if you're in the mood, with provolone cheese and fried onions.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. But, Greg Luzinski listens to this podcast. He's not going to be happy if he doesn't hear that you want to get a turkey leg at Bull's Barbecue. All right. So can you throw that in as well?
I can't eat a turkey leg at a ball game.
Rich,
All right. So how about a brisket sandwich? Can you have a nice brisket sandwich?
A
At
brisket
Bull's Barbecue, Citizens Bank Park.
Bull's Barbecue. Yep, I can head down there. That would be awesome. Now, even there's McFadden's at the ballpark there at Citizens Bank Park, and they make one of my favorite sandwiches, which is a grilled chicken sandwich with roasted red peppers and provolone cheese. Somewhere I have a picture of it. I don't have it ready for the show, but
Rich, have you been
Wow.
to other stadiums and tried their food?
I've been to a few other stadiums. I remember Shea with because I used to be a Met fan, believe it or not, back in the 90s.
Oh,
When the
breaking news! Breaking news here, Gary. Did you know this?
Yeah, I did.
Wow. He
follow
used
the
to be a
Mets.
Met fan. He could have done Mets musings.
There you go.
Still somewhat followed the Mets in the back burner. But when the Phillies were terrible for years, I started liking the Mets because I had told this story on our podcast before. My dad used to take me to Phillies and Mets in the 70s all the time, double headers. That was his favorite, the scheduled double header. But I became a Mets fan that way. Tom Seaver, Cleon Jones, all the Rusty Staub, the old 70s Mets. So, I remember Mamas of Corona, if you remember that
Yeah.
Yep.
sandwich shop. I don't know if they still have it at City Field, but I specifically remember going up and having a wonderful sandwich there. But, I'd like to get to other stadiums a lot more, but I don't.
hmm
Jeff, you've been to a lot of stadiums.
I've been to
Tell
about
us.
half the stadiums, and I will say that my son, who goes to Arizona, we went to an Arizona game at Chase Field, and there is what they call a churro dog. It's a long churro. They put it into like a hot dog bun with ice cream, whipped cream, and chocolate sauce. It's like for dessert. This is like an unbelievable thing. So that's unusual to Chase Field. But a couple years ago, I went to Cincinnati, and they're famous for their skyline chili. If you ever get to Pittsburgh, I don't remember if it's in PNC Park, but Permenti Brothers is a great sandwich change.
Permenti
That's
Brothers, yeah.
oh my gosh, that's the best sandwich you'll ever have.
Oh,
Um,
they're also in Hershey. That's where I
Are
went.
yes.
Actually, I went to the store in Pittsburgh many many years ago because I went to school up around that area, and so I had friends naturally that came to school that lived in Pittsburgh, and we would go home with them over a weekend or something. But Permanente Brothers, yeah, and when we were in Hershey and I saw that they opened up there, I said to my wife, I said, we got to go to Permanente Brothers.
Sure.
And oh man, the sandwiches there, the pretzel with the mustard sauce is delicious, and I forget what the heck I even had there, but I unfortunately, I haven't all the other stadiums that I've been to have been torn down, so I don't.
Well, I know Len has been out to Oakland. So Len, why don't you remember the food you had out there? Anything special?
Yeah,
I think we lost Len there.
It must have been frozen.
in Oakland because
There he is. He's back.
am I back?
Yes, you're
Am I
back.
back?
You're back.
I don't remember the food I had in Oakland, unless it was tri-tip because it's California tri-tip. But I do know that at City Field or previously at Shea, which is no longer, I feel you just can't beat a good hot dog. I just love a hot dog at the game. I mean, I know I have to make a mortgage payment to get it, but a hot dog at the game and a bag of peanuts. And I'm sorry to the proprietors of Blue Smoke at City Field, but when I go to a game, and I shouldn't say this because I like Bull's Barbecue at Citizens Bank Park. I love it. But I don't know that I really want to have like brisket or ribs, or I want to just have a hot dog with mustard and sauerkraut and a bag of peanuts. Sorry, but that is, to me, that's ballpark food.
That's a good point.
And maybe
Yeah.
have like the helmet with the soft serve ice cream in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
that's a good one.
adventurous.
Yeah. And one of us, I believe, is going to Dodger Stadium sometime this year, and
Yes.
I hope that certain person will bring back some Dodger dogs, maybe.
I'm going to try to bring up back some Dodger dogs. You know, I first tried the Dodger dog over 40 years ago when I was in Los Angeles. I haven't been back. I haven't been back since. So yes, I'm looking forward in July to going to Dodgers Giants at Dodger Stadium, and go back to the Dodger dog.
You know, I don't doubt that he would bring you a Dodger dog from the stadium. He'd wrap it in a napkin. He'd buy it at the beginning of the game because he'd want to make sure that they didn't, run out or anything. So he'd buy it at the beginning of a 9-inning baseball game. He'd wrap it in napkins in heat. Now you're talking about you're in a hot climate. Then he'd bring it back to the hotel room. He might stick it in the fridge, or he might just stick it in his luggage. And when he gets back after this long trip, he's going to hand it to you. And the reason that I know this, okay, here's the reason I know. When we went to Bull's Barbecue at Citizens Bank Park, we had this turkey leg, and we had eaten everything else. So we cut little pieces off the turkey leg, and Jeff had a piece, and I had a piece. And then Jeff said, I think I'll save this to bring home. Now, this was about 2 hours before the game even started. It was a hot Saturday afternoon. We didn't have any refrigeration, and Jeff's going to take this turkey leg and bring it home on a trip from Philadelphia back to New York in traffic. And we're going to, so I believe that he'll bring you that hot dog.
Well, it's a hot dog, so it's not going to go bad.
I have to say there's one thing I tried at Citi Field. Well, in particular that I didn't like, and I don't know if you've tried the deep fried Oreos. Anybody try them anywhere at all?
I had that once, just actually a few weeks ago. I never had it before. Had it once, not at Citi Field. It was at some restaurant, and it didn't do anything for me.
Yeah, I was all excited to try it at Citi Field, and it was, I don't know, wasn't great shakes, but
No.
Rich, we've talked about some combination of foods on our show, and the minor leagues seem to have a lot of great food ideas.
Yeah, they really shake up what's acceptable with food, ballpark food. And I too got to share a Dodger dog story. Years ago, I subscribed to satellite television, which is the only way you could watch the out of market games before they had MLB Network. And I became a big Dodger fan. And I used to see the sign in the background, Dodger dogs. And I said, one day I'm going to make it to LA and I got to get a Dodger dog. So way back when, and I'll share a little picture here with you guys.
Oh, look at that.
This is me on a trip. You can see I'm wearing a commemorative Mets 31 Mike Piazza jersey here in LA. I'd bought a LA Dodger hat there. So you brought back some memories.
You're in a Dodger hat and a Mets shirt, and you're a Philly fan.
And do you
very
know,
mixed up, Rich.
you know how people get killed in LA or San Francisco because they're a fan of another team? Well, they wanted me. They wanted me in that stadium. They were mercifully picking on me. I said, do you know why I'm wearing this shirt, guys? And I turned around. I said, the guy on the back, Piazza, the Dodger.
Uh-huh.
But, they didn't get that well.
No.
Yeah. And I guess they weren't loving him that much either, I guess, at that point.
Not like me. I stayed tried and true. Always been a Piazza fan. He's from the Philadelphia area. You guys know that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
as so is Mike Trout is from right down your neck of the woods, right?
Yes, just about 20 miles away.
And I got to talk about Mike Trout's teammate, Shohei Ohtani. This guy is unbelievable. And to be able to pitch and hit, I just heard he's going to be in the Homerun Derby now for the All-Star game, which I won't be.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this guy is such a rarity, and I'm having an ongoing argument with a friend of mine. Oh, he should pick one or the other. He's going to get hurt. I go, wait a second. How many times does a player like this come along to the major leagues that can both pitch great and hit great? And we should be celebrating this. There should be more guys like these. What do you guys think?
Well, you want me to start? Is that okay?
Yes.
There is one other that I know of, and he's terrific, but I don't know if he's on the roster this year or in the minors. Brendan McKay with the Tampa Bay Rays. Now, I had the pleasure, I guess, if you want to call it that. He played for the Hudson Valley Renegades, which at that time was the Tampa Bay short season A-League New York Penn League team. And so I saw him play a number of times against the Cyclones in Brooklyn, and I've gone to games up at Hudson Valley. So I saw him a lot play. And he was a two-way guy. In fact, in the playoffs that year, he pitched a shutout in the one game, I think the game that got them into the championship round, and he hit a homer that tied up a game or something in the other game that he was playing first base, I think, in that game. I'd like to see more of it, but it's a difficult. We've become so specialized that it's tough mentally, I think, on these guys, and it takes a special time kind of guy. Ohtani is terrific, but he gets hurt a lot too. So you have to wonder, if he just pitched, would he get hurt as much, or if he just hit and played with. What did he play? Outfield or something? I think
mostly he's a DH, but he played outfield in one game.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I think the amount of money that they're paying these guys, it's almost like a utility guy that can play many different positions, but is he great at one position? Or is he just, okay, or
he's great
above average
too.
at the, well, he's not necessarily great at two. He could be a very.
You don't think he's a great pitcher?
Who?
He's a great pitcher, and he's a great hitter. Yeah.
I don't know if I'd put him in as a great pitcher. What's his record? I mean,
I think he's 2-1. Well,
he's 3-1 and with a 2.7
with a 2.7 ERA. Yeah.
Well, that's high. 2.71. Around
2.7 is high.
Around these parts, we're used to 0.54.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Speaking of guys that get injured a lot,
look, he's good. When he wins 20, that's the other thing, is can he win 20? He's not going to pitch as many starts because they pitch him every 7 days or something or other. He's not on a 5-day rotation.
Rich, we would like him on our team as Phillies fans, right, Rich?
Yeah, I would
want him.
Heartbeat. Is he a good two-way player? Yes, he's a good two-way player. He's also from Japan, so some of those players are schooled both ways, and he's a throwback player in my eyes. Somebody that is a superstar, like it or not. I think he's in a league by himself almost, with the way he's produced on both sides, offense and defense, pitching. There's not too many that can pull that off in this league. So is it going to be a thing for years to come with people? Only if you can pull it off. And Ohtani's doing it, but who else can actually do it like he's been doing it?
Right. It's a rarity. That's why I like it. It's a rarity, and it should be done.
Right. Right.
And I gotta tell you guys that as far as injuries, okay, I think that the fact that he's on the field more, that he's playing more, I think is actually better, because he stays stretched out. he doesn't, these guys that are, that don't play as much or whatever, I think they may be prone to injury just as much as a guy who keeps playing. I think we've got to take the bubble wrap off these players and just let them play. And I think it's fantastic for the game, and the sport needs these guys. They need these. This is something that's good for the game. They want to change all the rules. They think that that's what's getting the fans. No, I think what's getting the fans is these players, these really good players, a Trout, an Ohtani, a DeGrom. That's how you're going to get the fans to the game, not because you put a runner on second in the 10th inning. You're going to get them because the kids, they like to identify with the players. That's how you get the fans.
And I think
you still got to win.
Gary hit it right with saying he's injured. He threw his arm off practically, had Tommy John surgery.
But so did other pitchers. I mean, I don't.
But he's young. He's a very young player still. Sort of reminds me of a Giancarlo Stanton with the way his conditioning is. He's a strong player. Giancarlo Stanton is a strong player. He's also been injured quite often. So hopefully he can, stay away from those injuries a little bit.
Yeah, let me ask you about that. That's a great point. Giancarlo Stanton, who's a DH, doesn't play the field, doesn't really run the bases, and he's always getting injured. How is that possible?
I think it's because he conditions himself too much. I happened to be sitting behind the plate for a Phillies game against the Marlins when he was still with the Marlins, and I just was almost like 5 rows behind him when he was warming up, and I was looking at the muscles in his arms and his upper body, and he must condition himself with strength training and things like that. Maybe a little too much. Remember the old players in the 80s, the John Crooks, the first baseman for the Mets, who's now an announcer. Keith Hernandez. They weren't exactly like Mr. America, Mr. Bodybuilder. They were average guys that, maybe popped a beer or two after a game, not went to the gym and lifted for 2 hours after every game. So, I mean, these guys are such in great shape. They're trying a little bit too hard to be in shape, I think.
Agreed.
Yeah, we said that this in the past. I think that they're too worried about looking like they're going to Muscle Beach instead of on a pitching mound or the baseball diamond. I think there's something, Keith Hernandez always says that he used to come to spring training and get in baseball shape. He would run all winter. He wouldn't lift the weight at all. He would run all winter to keep his legs in shape. But he would come to spring training to get into baseball shape. And I think these guys are in great physical shape, but I think it hurts them. I think the muscles are too tight, too tense, too taut. And when you have to do a baseball move or something, then you hurt them. I mean, we haven't seen, hamstrings well, they didn't disappear, but you didn't see them for a while. And now this year, you're seeing a lot of hamstring issues. Part of that, I believe, is because last year was a short season, and it just missed the beat from, there's a certain rhythm that these guys had. Last year was an off rhythm. They tried to get back on it, but it might take a year or two. I think that's why the hitting is still off a little bit. But I just think these guys are too, like Rich was saying with Stanton. He's massive. He's big. You can't be that bulky. You're something's got to go when you're uh, we've talked about Greg Lazinski. He was big, but he was big. He was a big guy. He wasn't that way from lifting weights. Excuse me. He was naturally big. Babe Ruth the same way. I don't know. I've maintained this for years. I think these guys are just in too good a shape And like Rich said, maybe they ought to pop a beer now and then.
And I want to address something my broadcast partner there, Leonard, said, because he's absolutely right. Take off the bubble wrap. I mean, you know what happened years ago when these guys got hurt? They played through aches and pains. They played. Now, gotta go on the IL. You know, I hurt my got a bruise here. Got to go on the IL. They played through aches and pains. Now, obviously, you don't want to get hurt and get make it worse. But at some point, you got to just play through it.
I think it's the money situation, though. The money is so huge now that these guys become big investments. And, do you want to lose a Kershaw for the season, or would you rather take him out and rest him for a month? That's what I think the decisions are coming down to now. And it's hard to say who's right, who's wrong in that situation. uh it would be nice to say that you want him to pitch 9 innings every day, but those days are gone. Now they're throwing harder, um because they know they don't have to go as long. So, I'm just concerned. One of the things, if we go back to what we were discussing earlier in the show about the rules and everything, one of the rules they're talking about is moving the mound back. I'm concerned about that, because then a guy that's throwing 100 miles an hour, that means if you move it back, it's only going to register as what, 97, 96 or something. Just, I don't know. I'm not a scientist, but let's just say for argument's sake. So is he going to throw harder to try to still throw at 100 miles per hour? And are we
Probably.
going to see a lot of issues then? You're going to see
Yes.
blown out arms and shoulders and careers over. I just don't think it's a good idea. I think these guys have been trained. You're trained from your youth to throw, at least when you get to a certain age, to throw 60 feet 6 inches. And if you play other lower leagues than that, you progress to the 60 foot 6 inches. But you're programmed to that. Now all of a sudden to change that, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think it's good for the game, and I don't think it'd be good for the players.
Gary, we do baseball history on our show, by the way, baseball and BBQ. We do baseball history. So we had somebody on. Jeff, you're going to have to help me with this. It was Cy Young, the Cy Young book? Was it Lou Friedman?
Lou Friedman, yes.
Yes.
Right. I think we were talking about Cy Young. It was the Cy Young book, and how the mound went from 45 feet to 60 feet, right? Is that correct? It was 45 to 60?
Yes.
Yeah. So talk about a big change. Okay.
Yeah.
They're going back a foot. I understand with them now in this, how it's 60 feet, 6 inches. I get it. But can you imagine that going from 45 to 60 feet? That's a big change.
But we have such a mentality now about speed and about and all these stats that involve it. uh you know these guys are going to be prone to want to keep that speed up. We have radar guns now. We have uh what happens if a guy is throwing 97 that threw 100, and he's up for a contract. They said, well, your velocity's down. Well, no, it's not. They just moved the mound back a foot. um I don't like it. I think you keep it there. What's next? Are we going to move the bases in 5 feet because a slower player can't beat out an infield hit? I mean, we're going to have a slow pitch softball then, 60 feet bases and things like that. I mean, I think they should leave it the way it is and figure out something else. Um, they were happy when they were home runs. People loved the offense. Then now all of a sudden they want to get rid of it. I can't figure it out. Richard, what do you think?
Yeah, it's going back and forth between trying to manage the game, which it does a fine job of its own most of the time with people playing the game. But, we've seen it before. Back in the 90s, the late 90s, we had the Sammy Sosa era. Everybody wondered, was it the bat? Was it the ball? How could they be hitting 73 home runs? Barry Bonds is big like the Hulk, and of course we found out later it was steroids. I bought into that. I was buying the Wheaties boxes with Mark McGuire on it. I was like, wow, this is great. Like they must have found their knack.
I see it. You look like you were having the Wheaties box. Yes.
Probably still have them somewhere around the house still.
Me too.
But the artificial manipulation of the game, I don't think should be done in any regard. Don't change the ball. Don't change the bat. Don't change the pitcher's mound. Again, I'm going back to my traditionalist, and I sort of blew it by saying I can't wait for the robo ump, but I think it's just part of what do you want to call it? Inevitability, perhaps, that the game is going that way. And, we're going to see it soon. So on one hand, I like the game of baseball. I've always liked it. Not a big proponent of the rule changes because you're changing the way it's been for 50 years at least, since the 60s. And I don't know much of the game before that. But I just wish they would stop tinkering with different rules, 7 innings in a game. That's stupid. Runner at second, that's completely stupid. It's just, don't be stupid, basically.
Speaking about being stupid, there are split double headers being done this year.
Glad you didn't say my name.
There are being split double headers being done this year, starting at 1 and at 6 or 1 and at 7. Both 7-inning games. I don't understand why they have to have 2 admission doubleheaders to a 7-inning game. The player's going to be there all day anyway. It's not fair to the fans who are going to get 20% less of a game to pay the same amount. It just doesn't make any. Yeah, I know, which doesn't make sense.
That's what it's all about. But then, to me, if you're going to play 2 separate games like that, then technically it's not a doubleheader, then it should be 2 9-inning games.
Thank you. Yes, I agree with you.
Right.
Well, who are we? We're just fans, right?
But doubleheaders should be 9 innings.
Opinions.
Yeah.
We're just paying the freight.
What about a no-hitter after 7?
Yes.
Right.
If it's in a doubleheader, that is a 7-inning game. It should be a no-hitter. They're using an archaic
Not the pitcher's
rule.
fault that there aren't more innings.
That's right. They're using an archaic rule that does not apply in this case. They changed the rule. They changed the rule and they changed it so it would be a complete game. So if it's a complete game, why isn't a no-hitter? What is the difference? Right. You're just it's not right. And they changed the rule. They shouldn't put that exception in. If a no-hitter is pitched, then it is a no-hitter. You want to put an asterisk that it was a 7-inning game, but see, you can't do that because then if you put the asterisk, that puts away the legitimacy of the 7-inning game. So if they really want the 7-inning game, they have to count that as a no-hitter. It's just ridiculous that it's not. And then it gets back to a question of fairness, like Jeff was talking about. So if a guy pitches a 9-inning and another guy pitches a 7-inning and they're both no hitters, that's not really fair because the other guy had to go 2 innings more. But it's Major League Baseball and the Players Association that made the rule. So you have to change the rule to accommodate that. And if you're changing it to be a complete game, you should have thought that somebody may pitch a no-hitter. Well, we'll just take this old rule and say that a no-hit is 9 innings. No, it doesn't work that way.
I've got a question for Rich. Rich, they changed the rule with an intentional walk, right? You don't have to throw the 4 pitches now for an intentional walk. And of course, there was always the possibility that something could happen. But whatever, they changed that, right? So now intentional walk, boom, done. Okay, guy hits a home run, has to touch every base. Should they change that rule?
I'm for that with the 4 pitches, but like you said, that's not an option anymore. I don't think if it's an intentional walk, whether.
No, understood. But what I'm saying is we had a home run called back this year because the guy didn't touch first base. So it wasn't a home run. My question is, if they're changing that rule about the intentional walk, should they change the rule that the guy has to touch every base for it to be a home run?
No, I believe he should still have to touch every base. A rule is a rule, and that's a base.
I'm saying, should they change it, though? Should they change it?
No.
Okay. That's fine.
Len's saying if it's a home run, just turn around, go back to the dugout.
It went over the wall. No,
Why
run the bases, but if he doesn't touch one,
Why?
he shouldn't be called out. The
Why?
ball went over the wall. It's a home run.
I hear you, but then why bother touching bases? You're saying you're saying don't touch the base. You're saying you don't have to touch the
No,
bases.
you run because it's cool to see the home run truck.
Run over the wall, turn around and go back to the the dugout.
Okay, you guys, I don't know this crossover. It was going very well, but now you're just irking me. Somebody's got to agree with me. How do you guys get
Len, I'm going to agree with you with one thing here. Because I'm looking up on Baseball Reference, Zach Wheeler, and he is pitching actually pretty well for Philadelphia.
For my Phillies.
The Mets should have signed him, but at the time there was a will pond, so we know they weren't going to re-sign him, and he got himself a fantastic deal with Philadelphia. Now, I will say when he was with the Mets, he really only had 2 half good seasons. 2 seasons where he had a half a year where he did pretty well. Other than that, he was, injured. He didn't find himself. He finally found himself at like age 30 when he got to Philadelphia. And Rich, kudos to the Phillies for picking up Zach Wheeler. He is doing fantastic this year.
He is. He's actually the Phillies' ace right now. He's their stopper. He's their go-to guy. He's eclipsed Nola, in my opinion. Was a great pickup. And I was waiting for the Phillies to get somebody from the Mets because we go back and forth over the years of trading different players back and forth. And I'm glad we got a Zach Wheeler, even if it was a free agent.
Yeah, I know Gary and I we wanted Mets. Well, we all wanted the Mets to keep him, but we knew that they wouldn't. But Len said he was going to get a big contract, and I didn't think he would get a big contract, and he actually did get a pretty good contract. So, Len, I'm agreeing with you. So, kudos to you.
Thank you. The check cleared. All right.
That's a nice
Thank you.
That Len has. Mike, what kind of mic is that, Len?
Oh, it's a Shure MV7 microphone. Why do you like it?
No, you guys. I remember when you first started your podcast out, and you took baby steps at first. Now you guys are sounding like the pros, and I really give you kudos. Check out that Baseball and BBQ podcast, listeners.
Thank you very much.
That's the problem.
Yes, we have come a long way.
And Lenny's got to run the bases. I don't care. I don't care how far you hit it. And that's another thing. Doesn't matter how far, Giancarlo Stanton, he hits a home run 438 feet. So what?
Yeah,
so what?
Exactly.
He misses first base, he's out. So it doesn't matter.
If he hits it 400 feet and it's over the wall, it's a home run. If he touches all the bases.
Only if he doesn't. Right. If he doesn't touch all the bases, it's
let's say
actually 2 steps.
Let's say he touches all the bases. Okay, let's say he does.
Does instant replay show that?
Gary's right that if you hit the 450 feet or 400 feet, it's over the fence to home run. They're not getting any extra runs for hitting it farther.
Any further. It's
maybe they should. Maybe that should be a new rule. Maybe they should. Maybe that'll be. You hit it 450, you get an extra point.
Oh no.
This is deteriorating pretty fast.
Oh, come on. All right.
Let's
guys,
do this
how
now.
did people contact your show? How did people contact your show?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay. Send them smoke signals or something. Jeff, how do they contact our show?
516-855-8214. Gmail is baseballandbbq@gmail.com. Guys, what about you guys? How do they contact the Baseball Radio Talk Show?
Rich?
You can call the hotline, and Gary knows that one.
No, I don't. I gotta look it up.
They don't know. You know what? Contact our show and we'll forward it to them.
Baseballtalkradio.com or Gary at baseballtalkradio.com. And we normally have a number as well. In New York, you can call us, leave us a message, and you'll have to listen.
It's 516-619-6341.
There you go. I haven't said it in such a long time. 619-634-1516. That is the Baseball Talk Radio Show hotline. So call with a question, a comment, anything at all. If you want to rant like Len does constantly, you can call that number, and we will probably just delete it. But anyway. And if you'd like to support the show, you can go to
anchor.fm /Baseball Talk Radio Show
or patreon.com/baseball talk, and check out the Facebook page at facebook.com Baseball Talk Radio Show. Anything else we need to settle in the world of sports, of baseball?
Wait a minute. If they're sending you guys money, can we get some of that too? Where the heck?
Hey, get your own page.
You know, these rants don't come cheap. I mean, come on.
That's right.
Rich and I will start a GoFundMe to raise money for you guys.
And if you want to listen to us or any other talk shows, go to baseballtalkradio.com. We can hear a bunch of different podcasts from the baseball world. Definitely check it out.
You know, all kidding aside, guys, your show every week, you guys usually record on Sundays, right?
Yes.
It is really enjoyable. You never know what you're going to get when you turn it on, kind of like our show. But you guys, it's amazing that you guys have never actually met in person, because the rapport you guys have is really, really nice. And I mean, just the fact that we could get on here and joke and have a good time and, do this crossover episode is terrific. I've been looking forward to this all week. You guys are great. I encourage everyone to go to the Baseball Talk Radio Show. And then, of course, Gary, you have Mets Musings. And Rich, you have the Phillies. What's your Philly show?
Phillies Talk Podcast.
Yeah, Phillies Talk Podcast. So any of those is really enjoyable. So everybody go to their shows and you will thoroughly enjoy it.
Here.
And we urge everybody to go listen to Baseball and BBQ. They have great guests on there, both from the baseball world and the barbecue world. And I don't know, you guys been watching the barbecue brawl with Bobby Flay and Eddie Jackson and Michael Simons on the Food Network at all?
I have not heard about that brawl, but Len, have you?
I heard about it. I have not yet gotten to that. I'm actually trying to finish up a book where a barbecue book. I don't want to say, because by the time we'll probably have the author on, I don't know what time, when we'll air this, but I haven't yet, but I did hear about it. They have some great shows. We had actually James Grubbs, who was on a Netflix show, which was also a barbecue competition show. And these shows are usually quite good.
Talking about barbecue competition, did you know that the pitcher Ross Detweiler. I think he's with the Marlins now. His sister-in-law is the head of the Kansas City Barbecue Society and runs all these barbecue contests all over.
Emily Detweiler.
Yeah.
Yep.
You got to get her. Have you had her on?
We have.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
We have.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's
It's
funny.
funny. You never know. Yeah, you never know who's going to come on and want to talk. Comes on as a barbecue guest and then wants to talk baseball, or vice versa. We've had both. And
yeah.
Yeah.
I remember Ron Swoboda and Barry Lyons both, and Hojo Howard Johnson too was talking a lot about barbecue, and Ed, they have a lot of history on there too. The old time baseball guy was very interesting. Have you gone to any of those games, by the way? Is any scheduled yet?
You mean the old time games?
The old, yeah.
If you're in the New York area, August 1st, I believe, it's going to be at Bethpage Restoration. They're going to have an old time baseball game there as well. It's the weekend of August 1st. I'm not sure if it's August 1st is a Friday or Saturday, but they're definitely going to be there, and I can't wait to check it out. So August 1st is a Sunday, so it's going to be the weekend of July 31st and August 1st. Bethpage Park Restoration.
And we're talking 1800s, Rich. We're talking no gloves.
Yeah, when it was baseball, it was two words.
And
Rich,
ball.
Rich, you know who's going to be there? Marjorie Adams and her grandfather, Len.
Her great grandfather.
She is one of the fathers of baseball. He invented several of the rules and positions.
Doc Adams,
and she's going to be there, and she's fantastic.
Pretty cool. And I understand they didn't have a wall out in the outfield at one point either.
That's right.
Yep,
that's right.
True. Yep.
And you could catch at one point you could catch a ball on a bounce and it was an out. I mean, there are a lot of rule changes. I mean, can you imagine if somebody from back then was still alive and they said, "Oh, the tradition, we used to catch the ball on the bounce." I mean, so the game has definitely changed, but and hopefully for the better for the most part. But anyway, yeah, she Marjorie Adams, and you've heard Pine Tar on this show. We saw we saw him play old time baseball. But like I said, it used to be base space ball. It used to be base, two words.
Now I think Doc Adams, wasn't he the guy that came up with the rule you had to touch all the bases on a home run? Jeff,
yes,
I think,
yes,
yeah.
yes. But he wrote it down. Yes. Ooh, that's good. Yes, yeah. He said you got to touch them all. It doesn't matter. There was no fence at the time, so it doesn't matter how far it goes.
So you had it. Well, they were playing in pastures. I mean,
Right. That's right. It was like Field of Dreams, except they didn't clear the field.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I slipped on a corn peel or corn husk.
Very
Well,
cool.
this has been a lot of fun, and I want to thank you guys for joining us this week. And Rich, any closing thoughts?
No, I'd like to echo that. And thank you very much, guys. You're really setting the bar for great baseball talk shows involving the barbecue. You're getting great guests on. Keep on doing what you're doing. You're doing a wonderful job.
Thanks. And you guys do a great job too. And I really enjoyed waiting for my Sundays to hear the Baseball Talk radio show.
Okay, and that's going to wrap it up for us. So we will see you next time on another edition of the Baseball Talk radio show.